Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, it is time for Let's Talk About My Hero Academia, You're Next. The fourth and potentially final ever My Hero Academia movie since season 8. The final season of the show was announced just over a week ago. So this might well be the final My Hero Academia movie. And if it is, they most certainly saved the best for last. Because this might be the best My Hero Academia movie of the four. I've already covered the other 3 movies here on the channel, so maybe I'll link all 3 of those videos in the description in case you want to see what I had to say about the other 3 My Hero movies. I went to go see the movie with Ash, just like I did with Heroes Rising back in 2020. I also went to go see Spy Family Code White with her earlier this year. So, why is this the best movie? Well, starting off, it probably has the best villain out of any My Hero Academia movie. Basically, the villain of this movie is the guy that you're looking at on the that you've seen on the thumbnail. You might think the person on the thumbnail is All Might, but it is not. That is not All Might. It's somebody who looks very similar to him, called Dark Might. Or that's the name he came up with. Basically, this guy wants to be All Might's successor, even though right now Endeavor is All Might's successor since he's the current #1 hero. But yeah, this guy's actually a villain. His actual name is Valdo Golini. He's part of the Golini family, which is a the biggest crime organization in Europe. It also has ties to the Mafia. What country is most associated with the Mafia? Italy. And that's reflected when he actually starts fighting against Izuku, because a couple of he has the smash attacks that Izuku has, and they're named after places around in the world. But the 2 he uses are Bologna Smash and Torino Smash. Those are both cities in Italy. So I thought that was quite clever how they incorporated where his family originates from and some cities from said country into his attacks. The movie actually began with him watching All Might defeat All for One back in season 3, which in my opinion is still the absolute peak of My Hero Academia. The show never got any better from that point onwards. Mostly downhill from there, in my opinion. The show has gotten quite boring for me over the last couple of years. But am I there every time a new episode gets dropped? Yes. Every time they drop a new episode, I am there to watch it. So, there's actually a villain at the beginning of this movie who's not actually important. He's just being tracked by 3 teams of heroes, which are all the Class 1A students. He has kidnapped a girl called Anna Savino, and she has a extremely powerful quirk, not because her quirk itself is powerful, because it's not. She doesn't really actually have a quirk of her own. Instead, what her quirk does is it amplifies or transforms somebody else's quirk, and that is what Valdo, aka Dark Might, used in order to make himself look like All Might, because he doesn't actually look like him normally. So when he gets Anna back in his possession, and then goes onto this massive ship, it bursts out a void of light that sucks up all the surrounding people, so civilians and our heroes, and he has these little coins which can create entire landscapes. Think of Yaoyorozu's quirk, but cranked up to 100. It can create entirely new landscapes. And our heroes also meet a new character to this movie called Julio. He was trying to assassinate Anna because due to the power of her quirk. He actually used to be her servant, and he was the only person that could neutralize her quirk, because that's what his quirk is. His entire quirk is neutralization. So he ends up teaming up with Izuku. After the three sets of heroes get separated, Izuku's team, which has Sero, Ochako, and Ojiro on it, they end up in a jungle. Bakugo's team, which has Todoroki on it, ends up in an amusement park, and then Ida's team, which is the final team, ends up in a city. The city is basically the center point of the landscape the coins have created, because that's where all the other heroes end up. Other people in the Galini family also have some interesting quirks. The only woman that's seen in this family, her quirk basically allows her to stop anyone in their tracks if she looks at them and activates her quirk, and basically they start dreaming about their biggest desires. I'll only mention one of them, which was Kaminari and Minetta's, which was just them having a harem. Because of course it would be. So once the three teams of heroes reunite, they set up a plan to take down Dark Might. So you have some of the team, one set of heroes help the evacuees get the hell out of there. The heroes back in outside of the ship, back in the main world, start an assault on the ship as well to break it open so that everyone can get out. Meanwhile, Izuku, Bakugo, and Todoroki, the three main heroes from Class 1A at this point, they all start fighting Dark Might together. They're not exactly having much luck until Izuku basically does United States of Smash like All Might did on All for One, but instead of saying United States of Smash, he instead basically just lists off about 10 different US states and then says Smash. Overall, the fights in this movie were pretty typical for My Hero fights nowadays. The movies, of course, throw in tons more action because they've got a much shorter runtime than an entire season, so they've got to get a lot more in. But one thing I do really like about the My Hero movies, and this one demonstrates it better than any of the other three, we don't get to see the Class 1A heroes all fighting alongside each other, or a decent amount of them fighting alongside each other at the same time anymore. We get about 2 to 3 heroes at best to fighting alongside each other. And that's about it. Whereas in this movie, we saw way more heroes from Class 1A all fighting alongside each other, which was so much better. This is what made the early seasons of the show so great, because you always had a large amount of heroes fighting alongside each other. That's probably why the provisional license exam, not the one from season 3, the one from the beginning of season 5, where Class 1A and 1B went head to head, where they had to capture everyone else on the other team. That's probably why I quite enjoyed the first half of season 5. And that's probably been what I've enjoyed most from the show since season 3. But yeah, Izuku, Bakugo and Todoroki put their powers together. Izuku does his United States of Smash, but with extra steps version, and takes down Dark Might. Also, we thought because Dark Might comes back as this like giant monster inside of this giant monster creature, but that gets destroyed because throughout the whole movie, Anna's hair has been changing from blonde to black. Like every time her quirk gets activated, her hair her hair turns darker each time it happens, and it got to the point where her hair turned fully black, which means her quirk was going to be operating at max power. And Julio would struggle to stop it because when he originally tried, when the Galini family found out about her quirk in the first place, they burnt down the mansion she lived in, which also made Julio lose his right arm, one of his legs, and even his right eye. And his right arm was the only arm he could use his quirk with. But his quirk was compatible with hers, which allowed him to stop her from basically destroying the world, as he put that's what was going to happen if he couldn't stop her. But he just manages to in time. Dark Might is defeated, and Julio and Anna walk off basically into the sunset. And that is My Hero Academia, You're Next. It's the only movie in the My Hero Academia series to not have the word heroes in it. The first one was called Two Heroes, the second one was called Heroes Rising, and the third one was called World Heroes Mission. This one's the first one without the word heroes in the title of the movie. And even before the movie came out, or was even I didn't watch any trailers, but the fact that the movie was called You're Next reminded me of season 3 when All Might said the same thing, pointing at a camera, and Izuku was watching the screen at the time of All Might saying it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you guys have enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and also go down into the description to check out Ash's video on the movie. It's a mini vlog plus small movie review rather than just a movie review like this, but still check it out anyway. And until we meet again, farewell.